Think about it, you're gonna have to make some sort of site contact with that company, right? So refer back to the syllabus and look what, kind of what I'm looking for on there. Try to extract some real information about that. So, think about the companies you'd be interested in, what market or industry they're in, whether they produce, what they serve.
Does it have to be like a big company or like a local company?
No, it can be whatever. Yeah, whatever you think you can have access to, whatever you think you can get some piece of data. Yeah, I don't mind if it's small because it makes it more interesting, right? Because a lot of smaller companies could be struggling. You can analyze all of that to see effective leadership, decision making, why things aren't going. All right, so no class Friday, taking Friday off. Future Barisha about the Peregrine exam. Who's all completed that? Just one person? Okay. Get that done, that's a requirement for the business school. So you have to get that done, that's outbound exam. Once you complete it, you'll get a certificate. I created an area under assessments where you can submit that certificate and you'll get points for that. But the business college requires that you finish this outbound exam, right? So it's a requirement before you graduate. Everybody here gonna be graduating in May? Anybody got a little bit longer or no? How much longer?
At the very least, one semester.
Okay, so maybe in the fall?
Yeah.
You finish. Yes?
I have a question about the Peregrine exam.
Yeah.
Whenever I clicked on it, and I tried to click on the course that I was taking, it only showed graduate courses. It didn't show.
Under that initial sort of information I sent, I think it says notify the College of Business if you have issues. That's something I really don't have any control over. So reach out to them and let them know. Maybe something they haven't picked up or noticed or something. I don't have control over that. Okay, let's continue on. Thinking about competitiveness, strategy. So for my nonprofit, I have a board of directors, right? So the board of directors, I'm the chairman, so I would have the final say so, but that doesn't mean that everyone's opinions aren't valid. The thing is, there's difference of personalities, perspectives, right? And the other people who are part of the board. Right? So some people are very aggressive in how they want to attack issues. A lot of the older people, there's people like in their 60s and 70s on their board, they're very, very reserved, right? They're not that risky. Right? They don't like to pull the trigger on too many things and change things. They're very reserved in terms of resources. So they're always resource minded, like, what do we have the capabilities to do, what don't we have capabilities? But ultimately, to be an effective leader, you have to be able to assess all the different factors and have some great value judgments about core competencies, which we'll talk about, right? Just what do we do well? Does these changes take us away from our vision or our mission? Are we trying to do something that we initially did not want to do? We're trying to be something we're not. So basically, you need really good temperament in order to be an effective global leader, right? Effective global leader. At one point in time, I used to work for the United Nations, and there are very, very lot of intelligent people there, people from all over the world. And one thing I did notice is that no one was impulsive. People, would really ponder on a lot of different factors before they made any sort of opinion or judgment. So for all of you thinking about starting your businesses or even just looking to start your careers once you get out, I say really look at every facet of yourself and every facet of what you're trying to do before you make impulsive decisions based on money or other factors, because that's not the end all be all. We're going to talk about value today. Value is that big word. How value is created. How do we create value? that's ultimately what the customer gets at the end of the day. And so I can ask any one of you, bless you, what makes up the final price of what a customer buys something at? Right? We know that that is not, bless you. For example, could be Jordan shoes, Nikes, Reeboks, other things, luxury goods. Let's say the shoes cost $20 to make, they're being sold at $600. Somebody buys them at $600, right? How did that come to be? Where's the value in it? Why do the customers perceive that to be so valuable that they will pay $600 for shoes that were made for $20? What does the brand entail?
I was gonna say, like, in terms of Jordans, I mean, like the branding, because of it's produced, or like the logo is one of the greatest like basketball players ever, like that have ever been on the court. So of course his shoes are gonna sell more, but also just the style factor that are in the shoe, in terms of how well they look, like in terms of like the modern fashion, like people, of course, like jack up the price of Jordans, and then also a lot of times the colorways that are like the colors that are on the shoe. For instance, like any Jordan that has like red and black, or black white, those ones are usually more expensive because that's like Bulls colors. That's what Michael Jordan usually probably wore in his career. And then also UNC colorways, or like the light blue with white and black. Those ones are usually higher because that's where Michael Jordan went to college. So again, it's like it's really just based off perception. A lot of times based off how like the resale value, because the retail is usually always the same, but then when you try to resell the shoe from like any kind of other shoe, like resellers, anything like that, they're the ones who kind of determine based off the perception of how the shoe will sell like in the future.
Okay. So a little bit of Michael Jordan's persona, his history, where he went to college, right? We could release a special edition. Resale value, talking about scarcity, because maybe you can't find a special shoe,
Yeah.
put it on eBay, now we jack up the price by 300%. Okay, you were gonna say something?
I say a lot of times it's the method of production, or like where they have to source the materials, like a leather shoe perhaps, or handmade jewelry, things along those lines. That's where I kind of see like the value in things.
Labor, materials, where they're sourced from. Yeah, right? But still you have to sell it at a price above that, right?
Sure.
So you have to think of a margin at which you'll create, and which people will buy. Right? So think of that, but we say, hey, we're made in Italy, we're creating some sort of value of Italian perception of luxury, excellence, sourcing of materials, all these different things, right? Some sort of psychological impression that something is there, right? But at the end of the day, the person has to buy it for that price and think that it's valid to buy it because there's so many alternatives to doing so. So value is really, it's an interesting topic because it's sort of made up, but it's a real thing because people will pay for a certain item for a certain amount above what it costs to actually produce that good or to sell that good. So we'll get into it a little bit more. Anybody else have any other examples for value? Yes?
Probably anything made by Supreme, because even though it would be cheaply than the actual literal brick, it would still be a lot of money because the Supreme brand is something that's kind of viewed as luxury or just high value, and so anything that could cost like $20 would be like many times more expensive just because it has that logo.
Yeah, think of it, right? Psychological impressions. We talked about this last class of things being luxury. And then by actually what is luxury, by definition, I don't know when anyone can come up with a valid answer, right? What is luxurious particularly, right? Is it just the craftsmanship? Is it, something technical? Is it just a feeling or something that people get? But yes, right? So you think of it, Supreme brand is selling luxury goods. right? Which is, I think is awesome. And we said that the richest person in the world, the person who owns Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, right? Richest person in the world, more than Elon and more than Jeff Bezos. So like this does sell. They do create a perception of value because ultimately creating something about how people feel about themselves, right? How well do you feel in the new Aston Martin? How well will you feel with some Ralph Lauren clothes on? How well will you feel with the Rolex? How well will you feel, right? It's all about feeling and perception. Thus, you can create all types of crazy prices and test the market to see if people will buy it. The thing is not to create many of the products, to create exclusivity. Think about with the iPhone, right? We're talking premium brands. iPhone 12, what's the product? What's the difference?
Zoom the camera.
Okay, right?
So there's one camera, 3 cameras now?
Think about it. iPhone adds in one more lens, right? They can jack up the prices, create the differentiation. Why? Because in your mind, you will have an impression that this is far more superior than the other basic iPhone, right? So they're creating value there by that. This is far more superior. It doesn't maybe justify the cost, right? It's just probably the camera, right? Maybe not the things. Maybe the specs, the operating systems, everything else is the same. But they can increase the cost factor, the price factor by whatever they do. Who are you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say with sometimes with newer iPhones, they also have more software updates as well. And as your phone gets older, they just stop doing software updates for your phone because they're trying to get you to buy a new phone.
Yeah, right. So they create some sort of obsolescence in your phone, right? To get you to go ahead and buy another one. A lot of times, even the updates would be, they'll take up a lot of space, in which case it'll probably slow down a little bit. So it's very well thought out. But the thing is, they differentiate to say, hey, this is exclusive. This is quote unquote premium brand. People buy it. Is it a major difference? Probably not. Right? Probably not. All right, so where we left off was internal analysis, components. We talked about value chain analysis, core competencies, etc. So creating value, right? Value is measured by a product's performance characteristics and its attributes for which customers are willing to pay. How it performs and what are the attributes, thus I'm willing to pay this amount for those things. Not all people are willing to pay them, but just people who may be a fan of that product or the service. So they create value by innovation. Remember we were saying, how innovative can you get? We have a phone, what could we do with the phone? Apple, we could divide them into 3 phones, so forth, right? When we say, hey, on the production line, let's add 3 more components to this one. This would be a Pro. Make a larger screen with this one. This would be a Pro Max. And we'll keep this one basic. And we say we'll create 3 different orientations of cost structures so that everybody can compete to get the type of iPhone that they want. Right? So that's how Apple creatively creates value. Right? The MacBook Pro, different specifications. You want more memory, more hard drive, this and that, differentiate. Does it justify the cost of what it does to put the components in? No, absolutely not. That's why Apple's the most profitable company on planet Earth, right? It's by simple innovation. And if you think about this, this could be done with anything you do. Any company you have. Talk about the wrestling company, right? Like, well, what are the packages you're gonna be selling? Right? It's not just all one uniform price for people to come watch your venue, right? Think of when you go see a concert. You want the premium package. Okay. If you go to the nightclub, do you want bottle service in the table? You go to Miami, $1,200 to get into the nightclub. If you want the bottle service in the table, I don't want that. Okay, well, $50. Somebody's paying $1,200 to be in the same exact building. Somebody's paying $50. Right? But then you're just like, wow, this is innovative. It's a very simple concept. That you can slice things up like this, but anything you create, right? People will buy it. Just like that, people will differentiate. You're like, well, what do you get for the service, the bottle? You know, what do you get all of that for $1,200 at the nightclub in Miami? Like, well, you get this area where you can sit at, we'll put a little border around it, maybe you like 2 bottles of champagne. Right? What kind of champagne? Who knows? Maybe they got it from CVS or Walgreens, right? Doesn't matter. They're gonna make a ton of money off of that. But just like that, people have psychological impressions. This is different. This is a different experience. This is different. Starbucks is different than Dunkin' Donuts, right? Starbucks, people may look different, people may feel different. Dunkin' Donuts, they look different, they feel different about what they're getting. So this is value. So if you can understand value, that's how you create a successful business to get above average returns, right? Average returns are people who are not innovative. They're not thinking about dividing, slicing up the pie of a simple product. Right? We talked last class about Alaska Airways. Well, how are they gonna make money? It's just an airplane just like all the other airplanes, right? It's still gonna use the same jet fuel that all the other carriers. How are they gonna make some extra dollars? Well, they're gonna have a credit card, right? They're gonna sell a package for, take a cruise ship too if you buy this ticket going here to Seattle, Washington, right? You get a discount. You have to do all of these innovative, creative measures in order to create some sort of value to that use our airline, as opposed to the next person's airline. So that's gonna always be a major thing you come up across against, which is value. Value will be the major word once you leave college and get out there. You'll always hear your managers, your bosses, like, oh, we need to create value. Value added, value added, value added. And it just really means like the innovative process you use to get customers to pay more money or to buy more stuff. Have you ever traveled overseas? What is the VAT? You ever heard of a VAT?
It's like taxes.
Yeah, right? Think of value added tax. Right? Basically, government saying is that this process of creating this good or having this service has some sort of value to society, and it adds, therefore you're gonna pay some extra money for it, right? And at the end of the year, companies will get like some sort of tax, they'll get some money back, they'll get a credit or something. Here we don't have a VAT, you just pay your taxes, whatever the sales tax is, you just pay, right? So ultimately, creating values for customers is a source of above average returns for a firm. What the firm intends regarding value creation affects its choice of business level strategy and its organizational structure. I think that's the first thing you should be thinking when looking at these businesses or starting a business. Like, what exactly do I supply of value to my customer? Talking about your organization, like, well, I supply entertainment. I'm in the entertainment industry. Right? The musicians say, I provide entertainment is what I do. Right? That's exactly what I do. Make movies, provide entertainment. Never deviate from thinking that that's what you do and think of some other stuff. Like, number one thing would be your core competence, provide entertainment. Core competencies in combination with product market positions are the firm's most important sources of competitive advantage, right? What you do well is important, but also your product placement, where you're located, how saturated is the market for that particular good. Ultimately, that will have an effect on your competitive advantage. We talk about the airlines. The same old 4 big companies that's been around for a long time, holding on, and other people can't get in. That goes to show you the airline industry is not the greatest industry to get in. A lot of people have tried, right? Even Donald Trump had an airline at one point that it failed. It's extremely difficult to make a profit, right? Extremely difficult. firm's core competencies integrated with an understanding of the results of studying the conditions in the external environment should drive the selection of strategies, right? So plot your strategies based on the environment in which your company exists, and understanding the results of those decisions, which means that you have to be able to measure your results in some capacity to know if they work or if they do not work, so that you can always reformulate a new strategy. Constant reformulation of new strategy. All right, strategic decision makers make about the strategic decisions managers make about the internal organization are non-routine, right? They're sort of random. Things change all the time. The market changes, inflation, a lot of external factors, also internal. People quit their jobs. A lot of things just happen, right? So your decisions will be non-routine. They'll be random. Ethical implications. Why ethics is so big for businesses? Why? Right? You say, who cares about ethics? Just make as much money as you can. Why would that not be true? Why would companies say, no, we care about ethics? Yeah.
Probably affects the integrity of the company as well as its public image if anyone finds dirt on it.
Yeah, I mean, your reputation counts, right? You want good reviews or you want bad reviews? Guess what? Word gets around, right? People will know if you scam people, if you have a crappy quality on a product, if your service sucks, right? Because there's other options besides this. So you're competing, you have to have a good reputation. And that reputation sticks, right? Anything that's done consistently sticks in the mind of people, even if that thing changes. Toyota is known as a superior quality manufacturer of cars, right? So you think, if I want a reliable car, what do people say? Get a Honda or a Toyota, right? And that will probably be very difficult for people not to have that impression. It'll be very, very long lasting. So yes, your reputation counts, but your reputation can fold very quickly. Like you think of even Teslas, you know, word starts to get around. Yeah, Tesla's great vehicles for the technology, but the actual products, like the interior, the exterior, the quality of the stuff is not as premium as others. So word gets around, and it may help a lot of customers be informed not to maybe purchase that. Making decisions regarding the firm's assets. What are the firm's assets? What could be firm's assets? What are the major assets a firm can have?
Or on the building.
Yeah, right? Building and everything in it, right? You say this is where we make it happen. We create the product here in this building. We own all this machinery, parking lot structures, right? Maybe we have an area for people to come in and have meetings, things like this, and all the things entailed with that. Maybe your inventory is your assets, right? We have a ton of inventory ready to be sold. These are assets on the books. What else?
The type of people you have working for you.
Yeah, your human capital is probably your greatest asset, right? Products, you know, we know what the products is, but if the people who try to implement selling those things, it doesn't work well, then the company will suffer, right? So human capital is your greatest asset, which is kind of like for companies like Google, Facebook. They have very, very intelligent people, and that's why it runs so well. Very, very intelligent people. Knowing how to use those assets is important, right? Do you sell off a building that's not producing enough thing? It may be a good time to do that. Do you leverage debt? Another asset could be capacity to borrow money, right? When I first started, I never used any of my money, ever. Right? I leveraged other people's money. Right? That was the game plan, but I already knew that. I already knew that's my core competency was using other people's money to get them good returns on an investment. Right? So leveraging what you know you do well. All right, it's challenging and difficult to make decisions regarding assets because you never know if the time is right to do it. So time is of essence, is key. So just timing will be the most challenging thing. Things are increasingly internationalized. Like we say, hey, we have the value of the dollar here, we have foreign exchange rates other places, right? And so the value of currency can change at any time, maybe suppliers, maybe things of that nature can make things very difficult on how we use our assets. And can improve by studying its mistakes. Right? It's kind of like in our personal lives. Hey, do we study our mistakes? Do you make mistakes? And do you learn from those mistakes? Right? So you have a team of people who work on just focusing on what went bad last year, what went well, SWOT analysis, all these different methods we can use, and understanding how we can learn from those mistakes. All right, 3 conditions affect managers as they analyze the internal organization and make decisions about resources. 1 is uncertainty. What sort of uncertainty will we face about resources? What complexities?
Well, one uncertainty could be like, for a resource, do you know if you're gonna always have that resource available? Like, is it like gonna turn out to be scarce in the future? Is there an unlimited supply? And
Yeah,
also
right.
the
You
price.
don't know you could be getting a sort of some crops from somewhere, right? And now they face some sort of drought or something. Now you can't get that thing from that place at that price. Now you have to rearrange everything, sources from somewhere else, more expensive. Now you lose money. Like, well, I have to effectively keep the business going, but since this happened, if I don't make correct decisions about what to do and how to do it, then effectively maybe we'll stay in business, but we'll lose money this way. Another thing is customers' needs. You can't really predict how people's needs change, right? The customers' needs will change because you have competitors. They're introducing new, cooler stuff all the time. And if you don't make those necessary changes to keep up, then you will also lose money that way too, right? Some of your resources. So you have to learn how to use those resources to innovate and create new things and create new value. Intra-organizational conflict, right? Intra means inside. So customers can't see how bad the organization treats its employees, how bad everyone communicates here at this company, right? They don't see that, right? But as a manager, operator, leader, or owner, you would have that information, right? You have to be able to manage those sorts of conflicts between employees because once again, we said that your employees are the most valuable asset you have, right? People who are part of the organization. Here we're given 3 examples. Uncertainty exists about the characteristics of the firm's general and industry environments, customers' needs. Complexity results from interrelationships among conditions shaping firms. So it could be your relationships between your suppliers that you source things from. It could be relationships with your customers, maybe you're putting out bad marketing, things like that. And then inter-organizational conflicts. Judgment. Not everyone has good judgment, right? Some people have very, very poor judgment when observing things. And working in business is even more difficult. Right? So judgment is the capability of making successful decisions when no obviously correct model or rule is available, or when relevant data are unreliable or incomplete. Who here has to make good judgment in their everyday lives, like who here is responsible for someone or something? Anybody have any good responsibilities right now? Yes.
I coach 3 soccer teams, so I have to deal with like over 36 kids. So I have a responsibility to make sure they stay safe, they learn, and they have fun.
They trust your judgment? Why do they trust your judgment, do you think?
I think it's just because of the experience I've had and the information I give them, and when they actually use it and it allows them to get better, then they're like, oh, this guy actually knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So that's what I trust him.
Excellent, right? So when you see problems, you know how to correct them, right? We know we may have a process of trying to correct issues, right? Problems always exist. Therefore, they trust you because you have experience with that, right? And you may not have an available relevant data, or, you know, sometimes it's just on the fly things you have to make decisions for. So it's not a universal thing. Judgment is, you know, a very unique thing. Just think of people who you trust and who people you don't trust in their decision. When exercising judgment, decision makers must be aware of possible cognitive biases. We all have biases. We all may be a little bit overconfident about ourselves, right? We all may think we're so smart we can do anything. Or we all may think that we are underconfident, right? That we lack confidence, when actually, you know, should be out killing it. You know, should be out saving the world right now. And maybe that issue is just your own biases towards how you observe things. So we all have possible cognitive biases such as overconfidence, and often take intelligent risk as part of exercising judgment. Risk is good. Risk means return, right? You play it safe, smaller the money you're gonna get back. You make big risk, potential more money you'll get back. So risk is inherently good, but learning how to mitigate it based on other factors is key. Strategic leaders are individuals with an ability to examine the firm's resources, capabilities, and core competencies and make effective choices about their use. Okay, resources. Broad in scope, resources cover a spectrum of individual, social, and organizational phenomena. By themselves, resources do not allow firms to create value for customers as a foundation for earning above average returns. What are some other ways besides resources do we create value for customers? Some other ways besides just the resources we get. Some other ways we can create value.
Probably, I don't know if this is kind of cheating or not, but like, I guess, not just what resources you use, but also how you use them, because you might use them in a way that's kind of different from what companies and industry would usually do.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Well, we say value is part of innovation, right? Everybody uses them the same way. This is the only way they think that they can use, and someone comes with a more innovative, creative idea, like, no, we just use things differently. We got the same resources as everybody else. We're more creative than the next person, right? Or think of even just messaging, right? You create an image just by your message, right? The image of brand, an image of whatever you're trying to convey to the market to create some sort of demand. And that may not even require resources to do, right? But think of maybe it's be a self-working mechanism. You allow people to buy the product, and guess what? They just talk word of mouth to get out to guy. You gotta get this. You gotta go see this movie. The movie is excellent. You gotta go buy these shoes. These are really cool. You should get that car. we should go to Concordia University, right? There's some sort of value there in essence. That's why people show up. Some of the firm's resources are tangible, right? While others are intangible. Tangible resources are assets that can be observed and quantified. We talked about equipment, facilities, centers, and formal reporting structures. Four primary categories of tangible resources are financial, organizational, physical, technological. Financial, the firm's capacity to borrow. If a firm has proven itself over time, the banks will lend them a ridiculous amount of money, right? So they can always borrow in other ways too. Let's say they just, people believe that they can pay back debt, so firms can create bonds. Firms can create stocks. You guys can start any company tomorrow. You start a lemonade stand tomorrow, and you say, I want to create 1 million shares of $1 a piece for my lemonade stand. But it's just a lemonade stand. Right, I don't care, right? I got 1 million shares and we sell them $1 a piece. How many do you want to buy, Mr. Investor? And they say, I'll take 10,000. I believe in your lemonade stand. You can do that out of thin air tomorrow, right? If people believe in what you're doing. In essence, so I used to go out and get these buildings, right? And I get these buildings, I get all the data on the buildings. A lot of them already had people in there rented. They were large buildings. I say, hey, this is my plan. This is how we can convert the building to get some sort of value, right? We can make things a little bit more opulent, luxury, jack up the prices on rent, and get X amount of people here to fill up the vacancies. Yada, yada, yada. These would be the monthly returns that you would get as an investor. People say I'm in, right? It makes sense, it's logical. There's already people in there that's already proving this stuff all the time, right? So what it is using just ideas, conveying ideas into manifesting into realities, creating some sort of financial resource. And the firm's ability to generate funds through internal operations, income, right? Bringing in income, ability to actually bring in some income. Organizational resources, formal reporting structures, right? How do we report to one another? How do we convey information to one another within the organization? Reporting financial data, management data, operations data, things like that. Technological resources, technology related, such as copyright, so you think of intellectual property, right? Copyrights, patents, trademarks, trade secrets, Apple, Google, Amazon, all competing. You can look up their patents of things they never even created or brought to market. They have 1 million of them, right? They've had wireless charging hooked up to the Wi-Fi to charge your phone. Have you ever seen it? No. It's never been brought to market, right? But they probably have some sort of patent on those features already, because maybe in the future they may roll out that as some sort of plan. Right? So they may have a hold on specific ways of doing things. Coca-Cola, what's Coke's big one? What's the big secret for Coke? What makes Coca-Cola Coca-Cola?
Taste.
Yeah, but what's the taste? What do they have that nobody could copy?
Their own recipe.
Yeah, right, they get the secret syrup, right? Secret syrup. No one can copy it, therefore you never can get another company to have the exact same taste as Coca-Cola. Tempted to do it, but you'd be sued into another planet doing so. Intangible resources, assets that are rooted deeply in the firm's history, accumulate over time. Even when we talk about history, we talk about Jordan, right? Like, oh man, it's rooted in Jordan, right? Jordan came out with like the first successful sneaker, like sports sneaker for basketball. He was the first one who really capitalized on that. And therefore, that was a long, long time ago. So that history is part of the brand. Right? Somebody new to try to do it, but they don't have the history there. And so we always think in our mind classic. If it's historical, it's classic. I want to get Jordans are just classic. Right? You can get the Jordan 1s and 2s, classic. You'll pay top dollar. They accumulate over time and are relatively difficult competitors to analyze and imitate. What are some other examples? Things that are historical, that's built up over time, that's in people's mind about a certain product or company or something. Can't think of any other brands? Can't think of any classic brands? Things that have been around forever? Right, you can think of a million things. You can think of Rolls Royce, right? Been around forever. They're gonna pay top dollar, handmade in England. You're gonna pay $500,000 for it. Why? Because it's classic. It's just a classic. You think of luxury for a car. Rolls Royce is probably one of the most classic brands you can think of. You could think of Ralph Lauren clothing, been around a long time, so you think of people wearing polo. Just think of people having a classic brand. History is already accumulated over time. It's difficult for people to try to imitate that. So besides brand names, we got knowledge, managerial capabilities, organizational routines, organizational culture. Right? Those three primary categories of intangible resources are human, innovation, and reputation. Those are the big three. Trust, skills, knowledge, ability to collaborate with others. Those are your human resources. Innovative resources are ideas, scientific capabilities, capacity to innovate. Reputation is brand name, perceptions of quality, durability, reliability, positive reputation with stakeholders and suppliers. And so we speak of all that with Toyota, with quality, and other brand name considerations. All right, tangible resources are hard to leverage. You have to have something beyond the physical product, which happens with great marketing. So great marketing creates luxury, opulence, right? A premium to take it above the cost of the product. You can't just have it with the product itself. You have to create value based on some other factor. An idea, a dream, a capability, right? Making somebody feel good, a perception, a perspective. Something has to be there other than just the product or the service. That's why I think of Starbucks, right? Starbucks is sort of an anchor for decent neighborhoods in the city of Chicago and elsewhere. So typically, if you're like, oh man, you guys got a Starbucks over here now, right? The neighborhood is changing. The neighborhood is improving. The Starbucks is now appeared over in this neighborhood, right? And that brings value. Now people say, hey, now we're gonna start moving over here. It used to be a crappy neighborhood. Now you guys got a Starbucks. Let's see if that changes home values. Let's see if that changes how many people bought new homes there. It does. The data shows that it does. So something as simple as just a Starbucks in the neighborhood can change the demand for a lot of other things, right? Because Starbucks has additional value just besides coffee and coffee-related products. for something else to do. Intangible, compared to tangible resources, intangible resources are less visible and more difficult for competitors to understand, purchase, imitate, or substitute, are more relied on to be the foundations of a firm's capabilities, and can be leveraged. Capabilities are the use of combining individual and intangible resources together to create some sort of value. They're used to complete the organizational tasks required to produce, distribute, and service the goods. They are the foundation for building core competencies and hopefully competitive advantage. And often based on developing, carrying, and exchanging information and knowledge through the firm's human capital. Ideas come from the top disperse into management disperses into team members or groups or employees. Employees are the ones who be trained on it. Now the training takes hold, and now they're able to do what was originally thought of at the beginning. So the exchange of knowledge carried down from top to bottom. Often develop in specific functional areas or in a part of a functional area, such as research and development. They think of R&D, their job is to actually test things. They have huge budgets to test all types of things, how it works. Even with coffees and things like that, they do taste tests, market research, surveys, focus groups, all of these different things. Come up with some sort of formulation. What time is it? Okay. I will end here. No class Friday. Keep working on your individual, company,